After months of painful waiting and trying to avoid any signs with spoilers on the net, the Demon Slayer movie finally becomes available in the West. Of course, I didn't come away unscathed, and apart from all the great reviews it's already received and news of it breaking records, I heard that it has a very sad story. But while I believed all the furore and positive responses I've seen, I felt skeptical about the sad element. Not trying to be heartless or anything, but from my small exposure to shonen anime series and their off-canon films, the sad elements were just not sad enough for me. But boy was I so wrong for this one. The story picks up from the first season of the series and follows the three lovable demon slayers, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke, as they board a train to assist the fire Hashira Rengoku Kyojuro in his mission to hunt a demon that has already killed many other demon slayers in the train. We soon realize that the demon Enmu, a member of the 12 Kizuki, has been enchanting passengers to sleep and have pleasant dreams to devour them, which our main protagonists quickly fell victim to. With the help of Nezuko, Tanjiro becomes aware that he's in a dream and wakes up to fight Enmu and save everyone in the train, with the other demon slayers shortly following suit. Just like in the main character's dreams, the film has lulled me into a false sense of security, only for it to rip my heart to shreds. Watching this film has been a humbling experience. It has told me my preconceptions were wrong multiple times and to take a seat. Whenever I get the "it's a sad movie" warning, I have the tendency to think, is this a sad bit? As a whole, there were various elements that are really sad by themselves, but the end kind of just bulldozed over everything and said, this is where you cry. As soon as I finished watching, I had to look up whether the film is canon to the series, and I had to admit I cried even more when I found out it is. Literally the only time I wish an anime film wasn't canon. The film tackled various things at once: Tanjiro's loss and grief, the train demon, Rengoku's introduction and purpose and why he is a Hashira, and our first look at the more powerful members of the 12 Kizuki. For the most part, everything was executed successfully. One of the issues I had with Demon Slayer's first season was that we never got to truly see Tanjiro's feelings over his family's death. While it's partly due to the fact he's distracted by his desperation to save his last surviving sibling, Nezuko, the show didn't give us enough of a chance to see how his family's passing affected his character. Did he remain good-natured because he was able to distance himself from his past already? The time skips for his training didn't help that case either. The film explored that aspect of him, showing that he's far from being over it, and made us bear witness to a heart-wrenching scene of him leaving his family once more. Another thing the film did very well was that it made us fall in love with a character that actually only had a small amount of screen time. I'm probably alone in this, but I didn't find the Hashiras that interesting in the first season. I didn't understand the fuss over Giyu and Shinobu, and it was probably just Rengoku that drew my attention. At the end of the season, I decided Rengoku is my Hashira bias, so I was excited to hear he'd play a key role in the film. Oh, but that's a terrible decision. I was initially unimpressed that Rengoku wasn't the one who defeated Enmu. I felt that up to that point he had very little presence in the film, aside from glimpses of his dreams about his father. His backstory lent very little insight into his character, but they brought it all back when Akaza came and fought with him. I was naive to think that Tanjiro turning away from his family, falling for the curse time and time again, and almost killing himself were the saddest parts. I was already holding my breath during the fight with Enmu when he kept falling for the curse. Rengoku's fight with Akaza was enthralling to watch, and the sense of desperation and willpower he demonstrated makes you want to root for him. There were so many times when you feel that you almost got him, but just never seemed to. I really thought he was going to win. But alas, Koyoharu Gotoke-sensei doesn't really want to make it easy for us. The emotions of the three kids as the demon ran away and as Rengoku took his last few breaths were so raw. The screaming and crying in this section cut deep. It felt like someone rubbed onions all over my eyeballs. Major props to the scriptwriters and voice actors in this. There are still some things that felt a bit short for me though. I don't think Rengoku's backstory explained much to him as an individual. While we saw that his mother is a big driver to his current disposition and purpose as a Hashira, why is his father the way he was? And while everyone else was having happy dreams, why is it that only his are melancholic? Rengoku's subconscious also seems to indicate some internal turmoil that we never got to see too. Why is it on fire? Is it to indicate his passion or willpower, or is there something else? My one other gripe is the train demon, Enmu. For a character that is central to the film's story, he's really boring and annoying at best. While he had interesting ability, he didn't really make much of an impact and was pretty forgettable. I actually found his final monologue as he was dying unnecessary. We never saw a motive or backstory for him, unlike the other 12 Kizuki members we saw in the first season. Out of all the key characters, he has the least depth. This makes it really obvious that he's just a convenient plot device to propel everyone else's stories. I really enjoyed the character developments I witnessed in this film. It's impressive how much they were able to flesh out each character even more in such a short amount of time. We all know that Tangera is the epitome of purity, but they emphasize it even more by displaying his spiritual core. The way he tried to break the curse again and again was very painful to watch. His maturity and genuinity make it so easy to forget that he's just a child too. I was low-key bitter that my baby Zenitsu didn't get a lot of screen time. I was hoping that his dream would give a hint to his hidden potential, at least as he's only mastered one breathing technique. If there was, I was too dumb to notice. Aside from that, I'm happy to see the Nezuko Zenitsu ship sailing, even if it's a dream. I just like to see my best boy happy. Out of the three, I liked Inosuke the least. I still haven't forgiven him for beating up my Zenitsu on their first meeting, but he's starting to redeem himself in my eyes. He's starting to show better teamwork, and that last speech after Rengoku's death was particularly impressive. Much of Rengoku's characterization happened in the last part of the film as he fought with Akaza. His unwillingness to back down and his ability to match the demon's prowess despite his human weaknesses made him an extremely cool character in our eyes. And Tangero's speech towards Akaza as he ran away just cemented it even more. It was during this time I realized the reason why he didn't tackle Enmu himself and left it up to Tangero and Inosuke. His strength didn't come from his status as Hashira and the powers that he gained on his way to becoming one, but rather his desire to protect everyone with all he's got and his great trust in others. For the majority of the film, the animation has been as beautiful as it was in the series, and maybe even more so. Many sequences were incredibly detailed and so satisfying to watch. But thinking that the Enmu vs Tanjiro-Inosuke fight was the pinnacle of the show, I felt that the 3D/CGI tentacles were really jarring, ugly, and disappointing. Frankly, I'm not that big of a fan of mixed 2D/3D animation, so those fight scenes felt like such a cop-out. But I guess they were really saving the best for last. The fight between Rengoku and Akaza was riveting to watch. The intensity of those last scenes were portrayed very well, and it was hard to tear my eyes away from it. There were some parts though where the moves and transitions were happening so fast, I was starting to get confused with the anatomy of it. This feeling of not being able to keep up perfectly illustrates what Tanjiro and Inosuke must be feeling as they helplessly watch the fight unfold before their eyes. I completely understand the hype behind this film, and for that I give it a 9 out of 10. So many aspects of it are executed very well, and it's the first shonen film that has really tugged at my heartstrings. Apart from that awkward train tentacle scene, the animation is absolutely beautiful and the movie is littered with emotive scenes.